Welcome to a bonus episode recorded live with audience pre-COVID-19 at the Conversion Hotel Conference in November 2019 on the island of Texel in the Netherlands. This session is with Steven Pavlovich, CEO from Conversion.com, and Daniël Markus, co-founder at Click Value. The topic of this session was building and scaling your CRO agency, and the first question from the audience was about how to sell an A/B testing program to a new prospective client and how to deal with those clients asking for really specific results, like for example a 10% lift in conversion rate.
If they give you goals like that, then you as an agency you should say, well, okay, but then the way we're going to reach that will be our decision. Because if you also say we need to do that with 5 tests every month and you have to do that in 10 hours every test, then you can't guarantee that kind of results anymore. So, also in your sales you need to balance that kind of challenges of what your clients want and also manage the expectations. Because if they want both, then it's not going to work. But that's basically the two kinds of flavors that you can sell. You either sell a result or you sell just work, and that's also how you should organize.
Same for you?
Yeah, so we're very similar. Typically, we try to understand what the goal is that the client has. They will normally come to us saying we want to increase our conversion rate, and that's as detailed as they get. So we try to interrogate that goal to understand, do they really mean revenue or profit or profit per user or whatever the metric is. So we look to understand that. Then we try to define are there specific targets that they as a company have to achieve within the next 6 months or 12 months so that we can align our work to theirs. Because then exactly like Daniel says, often they will have an idea in their mind of what they want, but typically that is not necessarily what they need. And so it's our role as the agency to partner with them to help them better understand that. And I think there's always that challenge between, so we have maybe, I don't know, there might be potentially a third type, which is you've got the delivery clients who we want X experiments per month. You have the target clients where we want to hit this target and the rest is up to you. And the third type of ones where we would partner with the client to essentially augment their experimentation team. And that means that we can do the delivery work, we can do the performance work, but if other random stuff comes up, price experimentation, for example, that may not necessarily fit into any of the other brackets, then we can support on that as well. So that's the ideal type, because that way we can direct our work to the requirements of the business, and then set kind of quarterly targets that we want to achieve.
And that also works for clients that want to do this in-house, right? So they can do it in-house, they're just missing some skills, you can augment that.
Yeah, there's one thing I want to add. Whenever a client comes to you with whatever assignment they have, we always have some kind of hidden agenda in our mind to get them more mature, because it's like you said in the beginning of your question that it's a process where you're looking for some genuine increasings to their results. And of course, when they come to you very immaturely and they say, yeah, we want 5 tests a month because, somebody told us that that's the kind of velocity we can reach, and so that's what we need. Yeah, of course, we all know here that velocity itself will not get you any results. You need some sophistication in it, and for that sophistication you need time and trust. And that's what we always try to do also with our clients, to work on their maturity. And it's just something you do in everything that you deliver with them, that you also help them in getting more mature. Because then you can get more results in the long term. And that's the way to grow it.
Yeah. Omar, did you have a second question?
Yeah, actually I have 2 more. Now I have
two
a little
more.
bit more time to think about it without putting me on the spot. But so starting out, you probably had a lot of challenges yourself. I can phrase it two ways, but let me do this. What would be the best advice you would give yourself if you could go back in time to say, okay, don't do this again? That's the first question. And also, you guys have grown your businesses pretty big. Does it get better by growing it? Because I see I've spoken to a lot of you guys, and I see that there's a tendency to, okay, maybe if I go to 15 or go to 20, I go to 30, if I scale it bigger and bigger, it will be better because
Are you saying they look tired?
No, I'm just asking. So it's
Does it get better?
Does it get better?
and
It
what
gets
would be the
different.
best advice as well? So
Sorry?
and what would be the advices would you give yourself?
Okay.
Those two. Those are the two
So
questions.
does it get better? It gets different. Like, I mean, if you look purely in terms of cash, I made more money when it was just me than when it's a company of 25 plus people. Does that mean it's worse? No, because it's good fun working with a team of people and seeing them do good work. So does it get easier? Some things get easier, like you don't have to do, like when it gets to a certain scale, there are some things that you can just give to other people, finance, HR, things like that I don't really enjoy doing, and then let other people handle that. So that certainly gets easier. But then the problems get difficult. I think the biggest challenge if you've got an agency with any number of people is that you're, like I said a minute ago, your wage bill, the amount that you have to pay each month will stay typically the same or will go up, but then clients can bounce around, and so that can be the biggest headache. You know, a couple of clients or a couple of wins either way can make quite a big difference. And in terms of if there was one thing that I would change, or one piece of advice that I would give to myself, I think, so at conversion.com, like start of the year, I think we were close to 40 people. We're now close to 25. So we had to do a restructure earlier this year. I think it was something that was affecting a lot of the agencies in the UK. Nicola's nodding her head. So the challenge that we faced at the time was we had essentially built up cash reserves in the business so that we could allow for something like that. So if we did have a period when we were making a loss, and we wouldn't have to kind of jump too early. And so we absolutely did the right thing there. I think the one thing that we didn't do was we got a little bit complacent, I think. So there were some changes that we should have made a lot sooner in terms of the like the structure of the business, the people that we were hiring. I think we let a few things go that maybe I didn't pay enough attention to myself. I think I'd stepped back a little bit from too much of the day-to-day. And I think it was an easy mistake to make, because when you've got, I don't know, a £2 million a year wage bill, you have to focus on sales, because if you don't, then that's not going to come in. But I think we have to get the right balance. So we took the company back to being a little bit smaller with 25 people, now in a much, much better place. And we are being much more cautious in terms of hiring, both because we don't want to hire the wrong people because of the effect that can have on the rest of the business, but secondly also because we don't want to commit to that ongoing salary unless it's fully justified. So we'd much rather use freelance or contract until we get to the point that we've got enough visibility on the requirement of the requirements of the business longer term that we can afford to hire that person.
Would you give yourself a different advice, Daniël?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, in the sense, and it's very hard to answer.
It's an excellent question.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. It's I couldn't phrase it better. The most important thing is that you stay true to yourself, and what happens is well, I know you a little bit, and we're a bit similar. You just like your work. Then you put in the extra mile for your clients. Then they reward you with more work, and then suddenly you think, oh, I can't handle it myself, and then you hire somebody, and that's a very big step. But then suddenly you hire somebody more and more and more, and then you're an agency, and that's how it started. And well, we're now with more than 100 people, and it's way above my head, because I'm still this analyst, and I just love data. And the main reason I always want bigger clients is that I get more interesting data sets. And I also think that getting interesting data sets and interesting clients is interesting for the staff that we hire, and that's why they want to stay with us. So that's how I regard it. It's just a game for me in that sense. And I can't control it anymore, and not myself, but a thing I did is I always surrounded myself with people that like the things that I think are important and I don't like. So I don't like finance, I don't like HR, or I like HR, but somebody told me I'm very bad at it. And so then I thought, well, I'll probably hire somebody for it. And that's also how I grew the business. So I always thought, well, okay, if I hire these people around me that do all these essential things, it enables me to stay true to what I like and love, and that's also what keeps me going, or gets me out of bed in the morning and drags me to work. Or it doesn't drag me, I go there because I really like it.
So would hiring people, is that the only way to go? I mean, you could also use different freelancers.
Yeah, sure. It's just surrounding yourself with people. But hiring is a way to cooperate. But of course, surrounding yourself or share your shares is also a way of getting together with people. And of course, yeah, with some people, well, I shared my shares, and with some people I hired them. That's how we grew the business. But I always looked at how do these people that surround me complement me, and I was very focused on that I could continue doing what I love, because if I can't do what I love, I'm very unmotivated. That's so to keep the motivation, I always keep that focus, and I think that's a very important aspect, and that you're also vulnerable in it, because I honestly say I can't do these things. I don't like them. I'm very bad at them. Of course, that's sometimes very hard to say, because you also have to admit that you're lazy or clumsy or whatever. And of course, yeah, well, everybody, that's a vulnerable thing. So, but I think it's important that you do that sometimes. So that's an advice that I give. And another advice is that when you're in doubt about starting something, an engagement like hiring somebody or let yourself be hired by a client, and you have any doubts, stay true to them and don't do it unless you really, really have to. But whenever I had doubts about somebody, it always turned out wrong in the end. Because I did it, because then you rationalize like, oh yeah, but it will work out, and I really need this kind of guy or girl, or I really need this client now because it will enable us to do so and so with the money. It always turned out wrong. So stay true to yourself, and it's easier said than done, but it pays off.
Stay true to yourself, Omar. Next
Always.
question. Aurelie has a question, or?
I just had a quick one. Do you do revenue sharing with your customers when you get to certain goals, or not?
So we don't do pure revenue share, as in if you do X, we do Y. What we do is we'll use, because that can change the nature of the work that we do. We will do performance-based deals where we might have a gateway in place, where we will hit this target, and then it will trigger a longer engagement, for example. Because a revenue share, like, the challenge with that is it sounds good up front, but then when you do the work, the client, they want to dictate the experiments that you run. You want to have complete ownership of that. It also means that you can't do anything that doesn't correlate to the goals that you set originally. And often it means that you spend more time doing due diligence on each individual experiment as opposed to actually just doing more good work.
I think everyone's advising against doing revenue share. They're except Daniël. But I do see, well, full revenue share at least.
Well,
there's some hybrid models, of course.
yeah, I think you're right. When it's only CRO, it never works out, because if you're doing too well and your client has to pay you 100,000 euros for 10 hours of work, well, they do it once and then they're gone. So then it doesn't work. But we do revenue share for clients that outsource their full online marketing function to us. And then, for instance, we work on that. We say, well, we get so many percentage of your revenue, and then that's our share, and we deliver hours for it, hours of work. And then, of course, we can invest in growing the business. And then, of course, when the business doubles, also the amount of management value for us doubles as well. And that goes very well. And then they don't care anymore whether we spend it in starting some new channel or increasing the velocity of the CRO tests. And also we don't report on the CRO tests. They only want to see the lift. And they also don't care how we did it because they don't want to learn from it. They just want to grow. And then it works. But if it's only CRO, of course, we have equally bad experiences with it, and we don't do it.
Any more questions? Go ahead.
Hi, Nuria from Google here. I have like a two-part question. So the first one is, I've been talking to a lot of agencies in Nordics and Benelux, and I have 3 findings, and I want to know if you concur with those. And then the second part would be kind of your wish list. So it's kind of an interesting thing, but cope with me. So the first thing is agencies across Nordics and Benelux have been telling me that they have a problem in terms of how their visibility is shown towards different stakeholders within companies. So it's very difficult to quantify, what are we doing? It's all these failed experiments. Why are you paying us? Secondly, it would be like in terms of dashboards, like how do we go about KPIs, etc. And it has to do with the awareness of clients, that they will just come to you, give you maybe a very vague brief. So what can we do as a company like Google to increase this awareness around right KPIs? And then thirdly, I think it's all about how you sell yourself. So what kind of upsell, cross-sell, etc. of your own services could you actually be positioning within these companies? And so those are kind of like 3 major issues there. And I'm new in my position at Google, and we're looking at things that we can do to train people during CRO worldwide. So it's kind of an ask of like what things you see that are gaps and what you would wish that you had training in.
So if we take the first point, which I think was about visibility, as in how do you get the visibility within the client, you're absolutely right. That's there's a problem that our industry faces in that, I guess it's what I was talking about a little bit earlier. People think that what we do is kind of tweaking a landing page or finessing the finished product, and we just kind of polish it a little bit at the end. If that's the perception, then obviously no one's going to give a shit about that within the company. Instead, the first point that I made today was like you should focus on the biggest problems that the company faces, as in if you can find out like some of the stuff that we do at the moment on price testing. So we're experimenting on 2 different types of pricing, for example, or experimenting on products, or essentially something that the business is going to care about. You find out what does the C-suite in this company care about, what are the investments they're making, what are the risks that they're taking, and then test around that. Then it's a completely different method, because you don't have to kind of push oh look, we tested this landing page and this is what will happen when we move the image from here to there. No one gives a shit about that. But if you say we tested 5 potential new products, one of them converted 50% higher than another, do you want to see what the results were? Everyone's going to care about that. So I think the most important thing is to test about what people care about, and obviously that's going to be much more meaningful for the business anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Share the results, because most people in larger companies, the web is only a small part of it. So we encounter the same things, and this is a way to get attention. In a way, the problem that you mention is more general, because it's with the entire digital marketing discipline or function in an organization. So I also see that there's too little attention for that. So if they don't care about digital marketing, then they also don't care about the optimization of digital marketing. And if they don't have a tradition of experimental approach to decision making, then they don't care about our experiments. It's just a waste of time, because it distracts them of their focus and their speed. So sometimes it's way too hard to conquer that. It just takes a lot of time and trust. And you need to have some successes, and the successes will get you your moment at the table. And then they suddenly think, hey, yeah, that brought in a significant amount of money. And then you get your share of attention.
One question that you can ask is, we often ask this during the kickoff that we have with the new client, which is if you could test anything on your website or about your business, what would it be? And they normally start with some fairly tame, mediocre answer like, I'd redesign the basket page or something like that. But then if you actually push them and say, like, if you had a parallel universe where you could do whatever you wanted to about the business and nothing would matter, like, what would you test then? And that's when you start to get these more interesting ideas, and then you think, actually, this one we could probably test something around that, and test something fairly simplified but still meaningful, and then start building the mindset around that.
I would also argue that as long as Google AdWords is still effective and bringing in a lot of money, the people or the companies are not really incentivized to spend money on conversion.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like so often when we start work with a new client, it's not like they have a line in their budget for conversion optimization. So normally the way that we will often start working with a new client is we will take budget from their Google ad spend, and then we will generate our own budget. We will pay that back within 4 to 8 weeks, and then we'll grow it from there.
That's going to go over great with the AdWords team.
Yeah, but
But it makes them more money eventually.
yeah, but that's something where Google can make a change, because what happens now is the way your AI is basically making human management less and less important. The next step in managing AdWords accounts become integrating CRO and AdWords, because the bid management and the keyword selection will be done automatically. So the only thing that the human can do to optimize results is put in proper CRO, and it's landing page optimization, matching between ads and landing pages and that sort of things. And you can educate your clients in it, you can educate agencies in it, and of course, we can educate our own staff, but also when more people in companies that do advertising know about this, then it will be much easier to shift this budget, because the reluctance that you just indicated is really there. People really love their budget, and when we say, but if you spend 1% and we get a 1% lift in a month, then the other 11 months of your yearly budget will add 1% extra, which probably won't do it with keyword management or anything. So that's something you could do.
A lot of ideas here, I think. Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you for all the questions. I do have one final question for Stephen, though. We're now at the conference formerly known as Conversion Hotel. I think you can see where this is going. You have conversion.com.
Yes.
Are you now considering changing your name to just a
The
logo?
agency formerly known as Conversion.com.
Yeah, or something like that.
No, I think I'm going to stick with it.
You're going to stick with it. Good. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
See you back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And if I'm correct, the bar should be open now. So have fun. Have a good evening.